actually recording right now.
Like,
I mean, I'm always just worried about those kinds of businesses, that they gamify it in a way that nobody ever can really make money.
oh, Postmates and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like short term.
A stopgap.
Yeah, but it's not viable long term. You know, and like part of the reason is because if you do it long term, car maintenance becomes a big issue, and then essentially basically what Postmates is from my perspective as a driver is it's basically like an advance on the value of your car.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a hidden loan that pretends it's a job.
Yep. Nice. That's a great way of looking at it.
So, I mean, that's a little bit of a hyperbole, but it's like that there's so much more truth in that than I think than people realize. So it's like, you know, like I had bills I had to pay. Like I was hearing no's from other places I've been applying. Like I needed money like by the end of the week, and so I was like, fuck, I know I can do this. Like, you know, so I'm back in it for a little while, but it's definitely not a thing to do long term. Here's what's interesting though. I don't know that you get enough business. I don't know how it works from a driver's perspective, but Drizzly, the alcohol delivery company, you don't work for Drizzly, the app. You work for your local liquor store as a liquor store employee.
Okay.
So even though it's app-based, those guys live in an entirely different world. So that could maybe...
Go through that. Yeah. I mean, again, they're putting us in contact with the. I mean, it's a little more direct of a contact with the distributor, but of course, still, you know, the app is still taking a cut. That's always the problem with any of these things.
Yeah. See what I think would be cool is like to form little like pocket neighborhoods of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, like the restaurants collectively, like they agree to pay like one driver like a minimum amount and then plus tips to deliver for those like 8 or 10 restaurants.
Exactly.
And then like one guy, it's still app based and you can like swap people in and out.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, so if you could build a system like that, then
like a decentralized,
almost
like a Reddit kind of thing, where you'd have these 8 restaurants are in one Reddit, you know, and then the driver or they could all just be in the same feed together, kind of.
Yeah, and what I was thinking is like instead of taking a cut of like everything they ever make, is you could sell them access to the system like that they use to hire and manage the drivers.
Yeah.
And like I think you could make money selling access to that system like a really reasonable fee, like you know, like $5
a month or something like that.
Or something like that. So I think, you know, there again, but it's like that's not the direction the world's going. It's like they
conglomerate, fucking, you know. And again, I think what I'm gonna pitch you is Terror Bros, and we do a Twitch stream.
Do you need to mark? We kind of started.
Oh shit, Mark. Fuck. Oh well, I'll figure it out.
Sorry.
But maybe this is the beginning of it. But I think we should just do a Twitch stream where you do tarot reads for people, and I'll be like the host manager guy, and
I would love to do that.
And I think it'll be you know, we just you know, I don't know how to build the audience, but my friend who I started the podcast with, he's got a Twitch stream. And again, like Terror Bros, and again, like approach it from the idea of like, you know, fucking the butch side of fucking tarot and magic. You know what I mean?
I love that because
I mean, one of my favorite artists in the world, Alejandro Jodorowsky, like when he's not making movies and comic books, he's doing tarot.
Have you seen his tarot readings on YouTube?
No.
I forget what it was part of a crowdfunding.
He's been anxious all morning to get this poop out.
Good. Yeah.
Like, get out of bed. Get out of bed. We got to do this.
Jodorowsky, it was like an Indiegogo or something, but like as part of a crowdfunding thing for one of his movies, at a certain donation level, he agreed to read the tarot for you.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if not everyone agreed to have them posted on YouTube or if he only did a few, but like, he does tarot readings for these people on YouTube.
Nice.
And it's like, it's wild.
No, he's a wild man.
It's really wild. But he does them. They're all in Spanish, of course. So you have to watch with the captions. But it's still so like. Sometimes like I'm like, okay, did he really say that, or is this how this guy's interpreting it with the captions, or how this person like how the captions are interpreting it? But he is wild, so it's like for sure he says crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it's
But I think for me, like, and again, like, we just need to set a time. I'll talk to Michael about when he has his live Twitch stream, and then they can like basically like there's a word for it, but like swarm over the audience.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And again, like it'll be like a comedy tarot show or whatever, or comedy advice show, something like that.
That would be so much fun, and like I'm having I have access to they're trying to like convince you to pay to get some extra features, but I have this software called Restream.
Oh, good. Yes.
That's free, and so like I also have that tarot branded YouTube channel, so like we can do the show. We can like interact with the people, and like we can be like on Twitch, but that can simultaneously go to YouTube Live, and then it's also just like I think Twitch saves streams the way YouTube does, but once it's been on YouTube Live, like that's on YouTube, like that's uploaded.
So I was gonna say we could. It's up to you, depending on how COVID safe you feel. I could come out to your place and maybe we could even sit out on the patio or something like that and do it. But it'll be like one of those things where I could be also like, telling people on Twitter, come and get a reading or whatever.
Yeah. Like I think,
and I could be asking you like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Cause almost like you could be teaching me tarot while you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's always, and like I've been trying to start like a business, like a side hustle reading cards, and like I was doing one for a friend on a mutual friend's birthday, and I felt like so caught out, and I was like, oh, I thought. Because, like, I know how to read the cards well. I thought I was, like, ready to be professional, but I realized, like, I was doing a total unprofessional move. Like, in the middle of the reading, she was like, wait, you keep going back between pentacles and coins. Like, are those the same thing? And I was like, fuck, they are. But, like, I'm reading, like, books on, like, different traditions. And
oh, I see. So you were flipping them in.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't matter what you call it, but it has to be the same thing or you're going to confuse the fuck out of the people. I was like, okay, I don't feel like a professional right in this moment.
But also, I think
so to have someone with that outside perspective who can go like, wait a minute, like you're saying this, but I'm a little mixed up because of that, and then I can be like, oh yeah, that was my mistake, or like, oh, that's because of blah blah blah.
Traditions. Yeah.
Cool. Like that would be awesome.
And I also think like for me, it's like as much as I think that people doing these solo shows is kind of interesting, I think just whatever. I like to collaborate. I like to see the multiple voices involved. Yeah, so that's because again, until we can go and hang out at these other, and I think it's just a tiny way to start building whatever, like this mystical. Because my perspective, and you know this, on all of this stuff is, I always want to approach it from the standpoint of, let's say, evidentiary, or if you're doing a tarot reading, it's like these are the intuitive hits I'm getting about you from the cards. that you chose. You know?
Yeah,
And I'm telling you a story kind of about yourself or whatever.
Yeah, and that's sort of
two, not one, but two full Modelo's. Now that I would eat
COVID beer.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a trap.
That is a fucking weird thing to see, though, because it's like
they just got too fucked up and they left their fucking beers.
That's hilarious. But yeah, like I agree. I totally got distracted by those beer bottles.
About
collaboration
but trying to approach it from a more evidentiary standpoint rather than a mystical standpoint.
Because sort of my whole like my big take on sort of consciousness is that as much
this is good.
As much as we exist as the stories we are telling ourselves about ourselves.
Yes.
Like we are the story in our head about our life.
Well,
and so it's like I think what gives the mystical, the psychedelic, the regular religious, like what I think gives that so much power is it allows you to go in and edit the narrative of your life.
Yes.
Like, I think so much of Christianity is bullshit. But, like, oh, my Lord, I was a sinner. I done drunk too much. I done whores. I cheated on my wife. But, Lord, no more. Like, save me, Jesus.
I'm redeemed.
And if you believe, you really can be a new person because you've just radically changed forever the story you're telling yourself about.
Yes.
And so it's wrapped in so much bullshit, but that's really the power, is it's like you get to sort of almost step out of your own life a little bit and edit the story a little.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, that's powerful.
It is.
And that is magic, but it's not magic the way...
Fucking magic wand and fucking presto digital.
You know, it's not...
So, but then playing with the consciousness. So, did you get a chance to read the Immortality Key?
No, I opened it up and then something came up and then I got sucked into another book. But this looks really interesting.
It's amazing. I'm almost done with it. It's pretty dense. Obviously, it's both travelogue, history lesson, and obviously he's trying to uncover this mystery. But the mystery that he's trying to uncover is the mystery of the psychedelic Eucharist.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And he's trying to figure out exactly what the ritual and ingredients were. And I think it's from the way he's explaining it, it's some kind of barley wine, but plus whatever, all of these other things. And something smells super shitty over here. Oh well. I mean, as long as it's not me. But it goes back to the Eleusinian mysteries and the Dionysian rituals. I mean, it's like he's saying that there's a direct line between Dionysus and Jesus. Fucking that basically his argument is that Jesus was so well versed in the Dionysian mysteries that when he started presenting them himself, people said that that's a Jesus thing, not a Dionysian thing, and that the revolution that he created became more charismatic, personality-based, rather than channeling these energies.
I buy that for two wildly different reasons, but that makes a lot of sense to me. One is I'm Facebook friends with a I don't know how to pronounce his but I'm Facebook friends with a neo-Sabbatean, and they're like Sabbatians were like heretic Jews who believed that like Savatas is, I can't pronounce his name, but like there's this guy like Savatas V, like,
okay, I don't know,
but it's spelled like SHABOTTOS, like new word like ZEVI, I think.
Never heard of it.
But like anyway, it's this kind of like heretical Judaism that has a lot of mystical components to it, and like a very different take on Kabbalah and all these other things. And then like, but they're also at the heart of all these like conspiracy theories, because part of their heresies, they thought it was okay to wear the guise of different religions.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, Muslims kind of see them lurking the way some people in the U.S. see Freemasons everywhere.
Oh, I see.
They think, like, oh, you have a problem with an official? Like, maybe he's a secret Jew who's only pretending
it's interesting.
You know, so
I definitely have heard this in other, like, both in the taking on the thing, but also that there have been always these little pockets of different religious traditions even in the highest levels of societies. But yeah, okay, yeah.
But this guy was quoting this leader who had these quotes about Christmas. And
let's go this way. I don't think I've ever gone this way.
And he was this guy. He used to lead this group called Dhamma West, and his take was. Jesus was the wrapping paper, not the present.
Yeah.
And so I think that ties very closely in with that. Yeah. And then the other thing that like, I'm blanking out on his name at the moment, but I got this book written in like the 20s, I think. It's called How to Turn Your Daydreams into Reality. And his name will come to me at some point, but and this is like a self-help book about self-actualization, and in it it's like kind of like Tony Robbins meets The Secret before its time.
Oh yeah. Well, it probably somewhere along the New Thought.
And I was like, this is hilarious, because it's like, it's the same stuff. I was like, they're putting their own names on it, but I was like, this is the same stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's literally nothing these new guys are selling that wasn't in this book. And this guy is also he wrote he was one of those, like, maybe like a little bit of a magician, but probably would not have liked that word or ever called himself that. But like, he wrote this book called Words That Sell.
Yeah.
And salesmen still buy that. And it's about like persuasive language use. But it's like it's like words from like the 1920s, and then some of them are still effective. He's the guy that came up with sell the sizzle, not the steak.
Fucking not Og Mandingo. Zig Ziglar? No, this would have been before Zig. But yeah, no, these guys are out there doing these traditional things, yeah.
But so like, I see it, so it's like, oh, like, where does Tony Robbins come up with this stuff? It's like, well, you think Tony Robbins came up with it? It's
no. He just, literally, both him and Elron just stole other people's ideas and made them the center of it.
So I totally see that the potential. I don't know if it's maybe contradicted by evidence I'm unaware of, but just from like, but I get the logic of the argument that if Jesus was presenting these Eleusinian mysteries in an incredibly private, like one-to-one, almost relational,
or if you think of the Last Supper, 12 dudes, or whatever.
Yeah. Like, And do you know about the Secret Gospel of Mark?
Yes.
Or I think it's called Secret Mark. Or
let's go this way to the right. But it was a gospel that was found later and added to the.
It was. So I think it was J.P. Morton, who has a book called Christ the Magician, which is really good. But he was studying, what country was he in? He was studying the ancient books that this monastery had, and he found in the back of this unrelated thing this letter from I think it was Clementine of Alexandria. that is like, yes, like I agree, like we'll continue to like reserve the gospel of secret mark for only the initial, like we won't put that in public.
Yeah.
And then he quotes from it, and like but then basically what happened was J.P. Morton took pictures of it and then left, and then like started talking about what he found, and then everyone went back to look for the original, and it was gone, but he has the pictures. And so it's like, so
it has gone back into hiding.
There's like a lot of, there's a lot of questions. Did someone from the Orthodoxy disappear it because it was challenge, like it would challenge things, or are the photographs somehow suspect? And the originals don't really exist because they were fake. They were faked and who knows? But what's in it is basically it tells the story of Jesus raising Lazarus as an initiation.
Oh, okay.
And it sort of implies that Lazarus wasn't really dead; he was symbolically dead, and he was raised back to life in a ritual.
This is
that went on.
Everything that he's talking about.
And then it closes, and like after talking about like the and it has like a lot of things they do that are like it spells out some things, and then after talking about him being raised from the dead, and then it says like that night or something, and then it says like the next day the nocturnal initiation, and that's where it closes, and that's all we have of that left. But it's like. So, like that's so kind of in line with the thing you're talking about.
Well, the reason that the book's called the Immortality Key is because the psychedelic, and in my theory is that he also mentioned soma, which was the drug of the ancient Hindus, right? That initiated their system, and then kind of fell into disuse or whatever. They couldn't keep finding the formula. So I wonder, and again, like to me, like part of that has to do with it sounds like this is a ancient chemical, plant medicine, whatever concoction and ritual that he says goes back to Isis and Osiris worship, to ancient Egypt, which makes me think that it might even be older than that, and that this was a carryover. Because if we go back to like Terence McKenna's intelligent ape theory, right, where they're just these creatures are just wandering around the forest, and suddenly they eat this psychedelic, and it changes their consciousness in a way that allows all of these different, cognitive developments to happen, right? So if they're able, and I think mushrooms are one of the easiest things to cultivate, you know what I mean? People talk about the date being the first, kind of like one of the first cultivars.
I wish, if I was still involved in politics, one of the things I would have loved to have tried to change in state laws to get California to let you order spore kits.
Yeah. Well, it's coming. It's coming. So, but the argument is actually that this, God, he keeps using a specific word that but basically the psychedelic Eucharist probably has ergot in it and not necessarily mushrooms.
Yeah.
Because he was saying that, as soon as you start cultivating, barley or whatever, the ergot just fucking grows. It's almost always there. And his speculation is that for centuries, millennia, whatever, and it was primarily women's work. And this is why there's such an interesting, he's saying that this is why there's such an interesting relationship with women and Christianity and Islam, is because they were the ones trying to reverse or whatever, they were against the patriarchy and the consolidation of power around male figures, and part of that had to do with because they were the keepers of this very specific knowledge, and they were doing this asymmetrical kind of warfare, waking people up. And the reason it's called the Immortality Key is because, well, this is craziness. Well, oh, it's just a pillow. Okay. I thought it was some kind of chicken murder going on here.
For the podcast listeners, we stumbled upon what's like actually a torn open sleeping bag or a pillow or something. But for a second, it looked like maybe there was some poultry violence.
Yes, it's downridden.
But I mean,
yeah. But
also to mark this in the time. The rebels did not take the Capitol yesterday. Yeah. The Republic stands. We are day one post-coup attempt.
Yeah. Well, okay, going back to that, it's so funny because I really think that thinking about the Eleusinian mysteries and these rituals, and the reason it's called the Immortality Key is because, you know how you feel when you're on psychedelics. It is kind of like this idea that, well, it doesn't matter if I die because I've had this powerful moment here that shows me all of eternity. And that, the idea of Lazarus being dead, and this is talking about all of these rituals to wake up the dead, is because they were giving them psychedelics and they were turning on their minds. That's, he hasn't quite nailed it down that specifically. But I think because we don't have these unifying cultural plant medicine based rituals, that's one of the reasons why everything is so fragmented. And now the church, from having the reason that the Eucharist was so fucking powerful for the church is because people would go to fucking church and take psychedelics. That's why it was so powerful. It wasn't just symbolically, and I guess there's also the flesh was some kind of raw goat meat that they were eating in conjunction with drinking the wine or whatever the drink was, the psychedelic drink, and those in combination, whatever you were doing it once a week or whatever, was the magic, was the spirit entering you. And so, yes, you could see fucking all kinds of crazy shit when you're in that state, and
Yeah, and that's, and then the Christians turned on that type of thinking, like, there's a book called The Gnostic New Age by April DeConnick, and I think I mentioned on another podcast, like there was a Gnostic sect where their sacrament, they'd all sort of ritually take something that did something to them. There was some sort of altering of consciousness. And then they'd all take a second thing, and in the second thing, it was like roulette.
Oh, yeah.
One had a powerful psychedelic in it, and the rest didn't, and you all consumed it, and then pretty soon on it became clear who got what.
Yeah.
And the person with the psychedelic would preach.
Yeah.
And that attracted a lot of women to it because they had as much chance as any man to lead the congregation, to preach, to be the conduit for the message from the divine. They had equal status.
What era would have this been?
Before the 3rd century, I think.
So this is exactly what he's talking about, where there are these basically house churches where there's and again, one or two of these people are actually mentioned in the Bible when Paul does his, he goes down to Ephesus or whatever. One of these house churches is founded by this woman, Livia, who, because it was her house, she was probably the one that was administering the Eucharist at that time. And this exactly sounds like what was happening in those situations. Holy shit. Which is amazing that we could trace. And again, it's almost like because of, Victorian era technology and a real specific kind of evolution of Christianity that is so separated from the psychedelic aspect of it, that we got to this place by the, probably mid 1800s where most psychedelic traditions were being kind of, they fell to the wayside, or
not only that, there was a point they were kind of hunted down for a while.
Yes, for a while, exactly.
And one of the things, you I don't want to go too far past it without sneaking in a quick comment on it, but you mentioned sort of the peace with death that can come.
Yes.
And so, in my Gnostic church, the bishop gives lectures, and he's talked about the mysteries in general, and then the Eleusinian mysteries a little more specifically. And he says, not a lot of the specifics are known, but he said, one thing that's been very clearly recorded in history is that the initiates lost their fear of death.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you go back to even the Hashishin, right? They were fucking...
Morning.
Hey, bud. Good morning. They were imbibing lots of hashish. And who knows if it was a special blend that gave even more psychedelic. But then they would, do you know what Hassani Sabah was doing, right? He would take these young Muslim, whatever, these young men, and he would get them super duper high and fucking drunk, and they'd pass out, and when they wake up, they'd be on basically it was the roof of Alamut, but it was like there was a river of wine and all these beautiful naked women, and it was a beautiful garden, and he would appear and be like, "You're in the afterlife, bro. You want to get back here? You kill the fucking caliph over in fucking whatever, Azerbaijan, whatever, whatever it was." It's a very amazing kind of
That's a good trick. I mean, it's not a good trick, but it works. But I mean,
it does the job. But
I condemn / I'm amazed by that.
But also, I wonder if the Templars were carrying the psychedelic tradition with them, and that's why they were run out of town, basically. Because once the Catholic Church is established, they do everything they can to be the only game in town when it comes to whatever their particular approach to the Eucharist is. I
think I don't know that there was ever a single thing that led to the Knights Templar being stomped out. I think just their level of independence and power became concerning, because throughout their they were the one crusading order that refused to participate in the Albigensian crusade against the Cathars and conquer the Languedoc. And
and also supposedly they're of the Merovingian line that is supposedly the actual bloodline of Jesus. And so on some levels they were protecting the secret that, Mary Magdalene gave birth to Jesus's child. And at this point I feel like, it was probably a girl child, if we're going to believe any of this stuff. And then that's why there was this contention between Catholicism and whatever this branch of maybe the true faith. Interesting. I don't know. It becomes also speculative at a certain point, because
but
Holy Blood, Holy Grail, that kind of shit.
But the it showed up on some weird list. It was like, this movie isn't that great, but they do this one action thing amazingly well. You should check it out before it's off Netflix. And I watched this movie, and it was like there had been a horrible World War III, and so to save humanity, because so many emotions are negative, there was a mandatory drugging of humanity with this drug.
Equilibrium?
The what?
Equilibrium?
Must be.
Yes, with Christian Bale, and they have gun fu. Scenes.
So it's like it was absurd, but it's like
I kind of love it. It's not a great movie, but I love it, partially because of the message.
I don't quite. I wouldn't go as far as I love it, but I enjoyed my time watching it. That ended, and I was like, okay, that was worth doing. I enjoyed that. But there is that sort of So I don't know who's it's based on a pre-existing work, but there's a show on Hulu called The Librarians.
Oh yeah.
The Librarian.
Yeah. It's a series of movies or something. Yeah.
But basically, it's there's this mystical library that houses all the magical artifacts that humanity is manufactured or finds, and basically the library has declared that magic is too powerful for humans, and they go up around the world rounding up and hiding all the magic. So, and it's in the guise of like there's all these really bad guys that supposedly have these evil intentions for the magic. So there's always like a specific agenda that's being averted.
Okay.
But basically they're on a mission to collect all the magic and store it away in this library where only the approved guardians of knowledge librarians ever see it or ever know it exists.
I mean, it looks corny, but I kind of want to watch it now.
Oh, so it's enjoyable, but I also, inside my scream, I'm like, you're the fucking Catholic Church. Just say, oh, magic, you're going to get into trouble with this. I'm going to hide it all away. Oh, yeah. It's all going to be under our
control, yes.
Only in the library, and only us can do it. We're going to hide it all from you.
And you got to check it out. You got to sign your name if you want it. We want to know who is the one using the magic.
And that like that's so like antithetical, but I think sort of the idea of drugging you to hide the truth, like I don't I don't buy into fluoridation conspiracy schemes.
No, not at all.
But I do get the concern when like I get why some conspiracies just baffle me, but like some, I do sort of get the fluoridation guys, because it's like humanity, regular water's fine, like from creation till 1970, and now all of a sudden we're going to fluoridate, but like I've heard that has actually been one of the most successful public health campaigns of all time. Like it's
exactly
it's prevented like untold suffering. I'm fully on board with it.
But also, I'm saying like even in whatever we can, this Brian Moratrescu or whatever, the guy, he talks a lot about Euripides and the ancient Greeks. They talk all the time about having to fucking. Basically, they're wining up their water. They're not watering down their wine because they don't have enough potable water, whatever. So they have to add alcohol to it so they don't fucking die. That's why everybody was all boozed up all the time, is because it was one of the few ways they were able to get hydration that was not dangerous. I mean,
There would have been a part of my drinking career where that would have sounded amazing.
Yeah, right.
To sort of live in a society that's just always kind of perpetually buzzed. But God, that sounds like hell. Like, oh my God, that'd be so fucking awful.
Yeah. You're dehydrated, and the only way to get fucking rehydrated is by drinking a little bit of wine. And I'm sure they had fucking, complex distillation or boiling, whatever. There were things that they could do to at least make the water more safe, but I think they just got into a place where just adding wine to it was just I'm just going to make sure. But yeah, and then fluoridation, and I feel like it suppresses and kills so much in there. It's just like, yeah, if it makes me a little brain damage, I don't want to be fucking shitting myself from dysentery. Fucking great, put it in there. Maybe I'm a little bit stupider, it's fine. I'd take the stupidity over the fucking constant diarrhea.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know that this is borne out by facts, but like, supposedly, like, if you listed like the top 10 killers of like humanity ever, like diarrhea would be like number 1 or number like 3 or something. Yeah. But I lost my train of thought, but I heard this amazing line in the car on the way over, and I wanted to get your take on it. And since I forgot what I was going to say that was relevant, I'm going to throw this in here now.
Oh, yeah.
So I really do like stand-up comedy, and like I adore like Natasha Leggero and like Stanhope and like Duncan Trussell, and like a lot more people than that too, but I don't want to just like list comedians. But and like I performed it for a while.
You'll be back.
But
you'll be back.
on the way over, I was listening to Conan O'Brien's podcast, and he's doing an interview with Colin Quinn.
Oh yeah.
And Colin Quinn tells this Larry David story. He does a Larry David impression, and this is like Larry David's take on stand-up. And he's like, oh, Because, ladies and gentlemen, like, this evening you are witnessing an amazing thing. A man doing exactly what he wants and has dreamed about his whole life and is still miserable. I was like, you know what? That is like I still really love it, but that is kind of like why I had to create some distance.
Real quick though, I will say that's the core of humanity, right? The core of humanity is we give everybody exactly what they want and they're still unhappy. But I would say be happy already, bring your joy to the stage, and then people will just watch your joy sometimes. You know, I feel like, yeah, you can write some jokes and you can have some biting, cynical takes on things, but really just going up on stage and making people feel comfortable and, you know, good, and tickling them a little bit and bringing some joy to their day. I think that's going to be 10 times better than any fucking any hot take, you know?
Yeah.
But and I agree. Like, I think the people that are attracted to comedy are fucking at their core cynical, because I think cynicism and intelligence come hand in hand, you know? I think if you see this, would they say that depressed people, smart people are more, realists are more likely to be depressed, right?
Yeah. well, like, the idea was like, there's a natural optimism to humanity where, like, we want to be like, what's his bucket? Peace in Our Time guy. Who was like, oh, Hitler's, we're going to be okay with Hitler. I talked to him. We're on the level. Like the trend of humanity is to be like Neville Chamberlain.
Oh yeah.
The trend of humanity is to more of an outlook like Neville Chamberlain. Like, nah, I talked to him. We're going to be okay. And then like Churchill, maybe bipolar, definitely depressed.
Oh, a super alcoholic, fucking...
Like, dark worldview is like, no, like, fucking bad news, guys. Like, this Hitler guy is gonna fuck us up. Like, we gotta fucking, like, you know, giddy up. And, so yeah, there is... when you're talking about, like, you know, make me dumber so I don't shit myself to death. You know, I was thinking of there's a Simpsons episode where they find out Homer's dumb because there's a crayon in his brain.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then it ends with him putting the crayon back in to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. No, which I relate to very, very well. I wish I had that crayon. But I wanted to go back to this idea, right? So let's say if we had a very strong, let's say psychedelic, I'll just say tradition at a national, global, whatever level. Like, this is a thing where, you know, these fucking ziggurats are these places, you know, in every country where the capital city is, you know, 50 miles away, so that at any time important, you know, officials could go there and you know, meditate on the. Oh, I wish I could. Archeon. It's a. I can't remember what the word is, but there's a word he keeps on using, and I was like, and then that will kind of change their consciousness, right? I also think if fucking Hitler ate mushrooms with fucking Neville or fucking Churchill, there probably wouldn't have been a fucking World War II. I don't know, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying, if they would have just ate mushrooms and like tried to see each other's perspective, I don't know. Again, like I'm very hopeful about the way this stuff works, but I think there has to be obviously set and setting. But I also think intention is very important.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you know, I think there is that tendency, and I think in some cases it could be true, because like you couldn't really confront and let go of a lot of dark stuff, and like, you know, it's such an oversimplification, but it's like, you know, if Adolf could self-parent and be like, it's okay that you're not the artist you thought you were, like, you're going to succeed at something else, you know, but the flip side though is so many CIA killers have fucked around with acid.
Yes.
And it's like, how did something I feel like I know so well take them to such a different place than it takes me?
But again, I think this is the same thing. If you were to administer the right psychedelic to a warrior before they go to war, they become a berserker. They become so fucking engaged in that war process, you know? That's why I'm saying intention matters. The intention
that's very true. And like
the intention that the CIA agents were taking it with it, and maybe they didn't have a clear one, but it ended up being, oh, I'm going to be better at this, you know? But I think in general, left to its own kind of somewhat neutral devices, whatever the core message inside of many of these chemicals makes people want to fucking hug each other and love. And again, like, I think obviously any of that stuff can be twisted and turned and used as a mind control drugs. But I'm saying, like, why not use these as a mind control drug towards peace or whatever? But that's, like, I look at it like, if there was, because I can't even think of any, let's say, psychedelic tradition that would be open to the Nazis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
even Muscimol, whatever, drinking the reindeer pee, had been already kind of basically hunted down to almost nothing, you know. And they were.
It's sort of like the. It's like the Chinese communists, and their relation to religion. They don't believe in it, but they also sense a power there. They're very dismissive of it, but also very paranoid about it. And like, yeah, for sure, like the because like, you know, especially with like Christianity, you know, you let the crazy evangelicals in to preach a hellfire, and it's like, when you're keeping society along with what might happen to you, and then they come along and go, well, here's what might happen to you forever, and this is worse than what the government can do.
Yeah.
You know, you invented a bigger stick, like, so of course, like, you know, anything that sort of,
yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, again, like, I'm also imagining, let's say, if you were to have these, you know, these, I'll just call it whatever, these ziggurats, these religious psychedelic centers in every major population area, and you put the two leaders to try to negotiate inside of it, and then one ends up killing the other, then it's like, well, you know, I guess we know who, what we have to do now. We have to fucking capitulate to whatever they want. I don't know. I don't think that. I don't actually believe that. I'm thinking, this is a weird dead end. I've been here before.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is Chandler, and then the 405. Yeah. And we could go around there, but I'm thinking...
Bear with me one moment.
Yeah.
I'm just checking. We're by a runoff of the LA River, and there's some graffiti on some concrete, and like, I'm just interested in, like, I don't know, nothing here particularly catches my eye, but I always like to take a second look at graffiti and kind of look closer. Sometimes
some magical markings. So I'm thinking we go down here, we cross this little bridge, and then we go across back that way, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we can do this. I think we just got to be a little careful on the flat part there. Oh, of course my shoe is untied. Speaking about being careful. Perfect.
This isn't that sketchy, but it's also like, oh fuck, be careful.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad, but I think you have to be mindful, or it could be bad. I think that's really where we're at. And of course, our Barney's already on the other side. Dummy. Gross. Ugh. You alright, bud? Wet dog. Grody. Dirty, disgusting dog. Guess somebody's getting a bath today. What's up, bud? I mean, I love these little aqueduct runoff areas. They make me so happy.
Yeah. Well, that's
Whoa, yeah. Were they trying to scare us?
I don't know.
Yeah. What were you gonna say? The edge zones.
I think our last hike was the one we were on where I talked a little bit about what led to my hospitalization.
Oh yeah.
And everything sort of going on with that. And you were like, oh, like, you should write this. And we were talking about, like, maybe doing, like getting roped into this underground battle against, like, Joel and West or...
Oh yeah.
And that really intrigued me because I was like, oh, I thought that whole experience would be scarier to talk about. And, like, I would have been anxious if I'd known we were going to talk about that, and it just sort of drifted into it, and it was like it was all fine. So
also, I'm going to pat my back a little bit. I am a pretty good interviewer. Meaning, like, it's also that thing I want to make you feel safe. I don't want to make. I'm definitely not going to judge you. I'm actually going to get excited about the craziness. You know what I mean? About the madness, and be like, oh, these things our brain can do to us.
Oh yeah, and like, oh my God. Nothing could have been more perfect than after all the talk of, like, conspiracy and, like, the changing the road and, like, what's fucking real. And they'd re-fenced, like, the posts we walked between, like, when we got back to the car.
Right? No, that was a perfect
like, they changed
metaphor.
the physical environment to fuck us over before we got back. And it's like, oh, you got to watch out for them. Not as in, like, you actually have to watch out for them, but, like, don't get in the trap of watching for them.
The Adjustment Bureau or Dark City or whatever, like, that they're, again, like, I feel like the thing that starts to happen to you when you get, like, I'll say dementia, Alzheimer's, when your brain starts to go is that thing, right? Where you're sure there was a hole in the fence, but, well, maybe not. And again, you just accept it. But I think having you here made me go, oh yeah, they just came and repaired it while we were gone. And I think that these are these little, like, nodes of, like, kind of, like, almost concretizing, but in an imaginative way. We didn't see it, we're speculating. So this gets me back to crazy fuckface who's in charge of our country still. I think he's operating in a place where he doesn't have any idea about how concrete thought really works. And I think that one of the reasons why he's doing the things he does is because he's kind of casting these spells to try to create reality around him. Yeah, we were. Yes.
So his brain is broken. Broken might not be the right word. Distorted.
Yeah.
There's an interview where he talks about his net worth. And he admits in this interview that part of the calculation that goes into what he truly believes his net worth is how he's feeling.
Yeah.
If he's feeling good, he imagines his net worth at a certain number. If he's feeling bad, he imagines it at a lower number.
Yeah.
And it's like, Mr. Trump, what is it like to feel bad? It makes me feel poor.
Like,
to him, he's equated the emotion of feeling bad with having less money.
Yeah.
That's the filter the world goes. I mean, yeah, it's.
Well, he's the ultimate example of that too. And that's how he became our president, is because he was the extruded corporate value of that. Like when they talk about the perception of the market is what makes the market good or bad, and what do they call it? Consumer confidence. Right? It's just a fucking magic speak for, we think things are going good. Oh, we think things are going bad. But they frame it as consumer confidence is weak rather than people are bummed out, or consumer confidence is strong, because consumer confidence already as a magic phrase is already putting it into the positive in a real kind of blankly way. But this comes back to, I feel like, Trump is the unholy jizz bucket of Norman Vincent Peale Yeah. Barney. Come here, bud. It's okay. There you go, bud. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, like it's a
Oh wait, with Norman Vincent Peale and Roy Cohn, and then I would also add fucking fuckface from Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah,
Bannon. So he's the unholy kind of child of those three impulses, meaning the Norman Vincent Peale, power of positive thinking, and Roy Cohn, fucking don't stop, do everything you want and fuck them in the end, right? That kind of like real shit. And then fucking Bannon, let's use technology to fucking fuck people over. Who cares about the consequences? I think those are the three, whatever, sorcerers that are fucking ambulating this golem of fucking selfishness. Ooh, that was a good fucking set of words.
I mean, like, I imagine, if you could get yourself some sort of They Live type glasses that, like, when Trump passes away, like, you'll see like a demon being like, oh, time to ditch the shell. It's like it's outlived its usefulness.
Yeah. Well, but have you ever seen that movie Branded? I think it's called.
No.
Oh, it's
is that about Nexium or whatever?
No, it's this. I want to say cute girl from the 90s. She looks a lot like Helen Hunt, Lily Sobieski, and Cillian Murphy. He plays, and again, I think all of this movie is all like Russian mafia money because it takes place in fucking Moscow. Oh, Jeff Daniels is in it too, and some other big star. But it's about this ad guy who fucking rises through the ranks of this fucking brutal fucking Moscow branding, advertising thing, and then he gets basically, and Jeffrey Tambor's in it, recruited into this ad agency that is actually a branch of the CIA, right? They're just like, right? But that's not even the fucking great, awesome part of the story. That's just the fucking background, which is like, that's just the fucking tip of the weird iceberg.
That's a fun premise. I'm already kind of into it.
I think take a look at it. I'll watch it anytime I come across it because it's just such a bizarre movie. But he discovers this text that talks about the red heifer, right? And that drinking the milk or the blood of the red heifer will give him this understanding. And he thinks it's going to make him a better ad guy. But what it does, it's so amazing, is it reveals to him these demonic alien creatures that are living on us. He can see them now. So whenever you eat a McDonald's, the parasitic creature, it's like a balloon off of your back, grows larger and you get weaker. And so he goes through all this fucking crazy stuff to have these things revealed to him. And again, like, you should watch it because it's like such a bizarre fucking text to get to this idea that I think is so deep and amazing. And it's an okay movie. It's fine. But it just this fucking weird, deep idea in it is just like, holy shit. And again, I can't tell if the filmmakers mean it metaphorically or if they mean it like somewhat literally. That there are these, I'll just say call it thought forms for lack of a better term. But, like jinn or some of these energetic things, practices, ways in which the world operates that are maybe invisible to us, but when you take psychedelics or you're in the right ritual space or you're Donald Trump, they kind of come to life, or they get more energy and power, It's like the gate, it's like walking through the Red Sea.
Yeah. Well, that's like so with the tarot stuff, you're talking about why you like to collaborate. And
Yeah.
Like I was gonna say, Jess Wood, who is one of my, I'm enjoying all the episodes of your podcast. Like, yeah, you know, an interesting cast of characters. It's really fun to hear you guys interact.
Thank you.
But I really loved the Jess Wood episode because it was like directly relevant to like a lot of stuff I'm sorting out in my own life.
Yeah, right.
And but she had a one-woman show called It's a Lot that was amazing. But it's like 9 times out of 10, it's like, no, I don't want to come to your one-person show. like just like, it's not personal. It's just like, I'm not, thank you, but no, like, you know, I won't be there. Don't be disappointed on the day. But Jess, through her Get Wood podcast, like, I've heard her have such hysterical conversations with herself.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, what, like, her in a one-person show? I was like, hands down, I'm there. Like, but I think, you know, collaboration can... she's one of the few people I'm interested in seeing solo stuff from. You know, I think inherently collaboration brings stuff together. And I was talking about my trip to the hospital that came up on our last one, because we were like, you know, this is like the beginning of like and I was thinking, well, you know, what do I want to turn this into? And then I texted you this week about the Freight Train Riders Association.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think instead of having the government, instead of having it be government shit, I stumbled across, I want it to have been like, because there was a period in my life where I thought, like, I had PTSD, and I was constantly thinking of escape plans, like how to get out of town, how to get out of the country. Like,
what do you think this is all about?
I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely intentional. It's an odd-shaped stick tied to
not quite enough rope to be a swing.
No, but I mean, I feel like it's got to be some kind of like, yeah, you know.
Or maybe dog a little bigger than Barney, and you swing it around, and the dog goes nuts chasing it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it could come right off the stick, so it's not, the stick isn't particular to it, but the rope is very specific. An alien artifact.
But so, my idea for that story now is going to be, like, it wasn't a government facility, but, like, I don't have it anymore, but, like, I at one point had tracked down a crew change guide, and so, like, it's not as much of a thing anymore, but there's still, like, you know, like, hobos use signals.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, camp here, safety, you know, it's not as developed, but they have, like, a thieves' camp.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of.
I feel like if you go to any good, solid dictionary of symbols, they will always have a chapter on hobo markings or whatever. Oh, look at that. All these critters going towards the rocks. But also I went to Beyond the Streets, you know, that graffiti exhibit that they had downtown. One of the exhibits was a guy that was a rail rider, and he did these kind of graffitis that were integrating, like, he went everywhere and he made a very particular mark that was his mark, but he would integrate it with these other hobo markings that were already there. And so these were kind of pictures of his, you know, his kind of like, we saw, whatever, we didn't see Chaco, we saw Chavo, but this one Chaco was going crazy, right?
Famous all over town.
Yeah.
Did you ever read that book?
No, it was about his graffiti time.
It was inspired by him. It was about this, like, teenage graffiti tagger, and like, it's like first person perspective of this, like, Latino. Well, I might be misremembering details, but it's just like teenage. It's the first person perspective of this teenage minority, like, just on the outskirts of gang life, like, not involved, but it's like around, and he's like flirting with it, and he gets into, like, graffiti tagging, and it's like all about and it was kind of like published like a Da Vinci Code, like this, like a true tale.
Oh, I see.
And,
Oh,
and
like
it was like a 40-year-old white woman who wrote it.
Like a Go Ask Alice.
Yeah. But anyway, that sounds like a really cool exhibit. Like
it was amazing. I mean, it had whatever. I mean, even it had fucking a bunch of Dennis Hopper's art and photographs, because he was way into graffiti art before he died. There was some other weird. I mean, obviously, I think it was mostly sponsored by giant guy Shepard Fairey. I think he was Bill Barminski was in it, and like there's a lot of like established artists, but also like a lot of just weird characters who I was just like, oh, that's interesting seeing this guy represented here. But back to hobo signals. Oh, so you want to make it? There's some kind of secret society going on with these train riders.
Yeah. And so. So like as I'm approaching like the spot where I got into the fight and like the real break happened in my real life, like in the storytelling, there's all this hobo insignia around me saying like warning, like keep out, like extreme, it's just a language I don't speak. I'm a bumblebee stumbling forward to it. And then I kind of like the idea of basing it on this quasi-real organization, the Freight Train Riders Association, and they were like, there's all sorts of crazy claims about them. Like there were some members that were serial killers.
Oh yeah.
And they were kind of seen as like a 1% motorcycle club that rode the rails at one point. And then there's still people that claim the membership and stuff, but like basically what they found out real quick, like what happened with a lot of groups is like law enforcement, once they perceive them as a gang, they crack down on these like hobos and drifters and rail riders like nobody's business.
Oh yeah.
Like you get all these enhancements if you wear a red bandana, because they say you're in this gang, and so it's like they learn pretty quick that like getting beaten up by the cops and getting extra charges isn't worth
the association
worth it. And so like I can't quite say it doesn't exist, but it's not really.
Hey, Barney.
It's sort of been over
dramatized.
Yeah.
He'll be mostly okay. Yeah, he's just he can be sometimes a little bit grumpy, but like he never bites. He just gets a little like no. Aww. See, like you saw a little taste of it.
But
keep going, bud. Keep going. Don't. Yes, I see you. No, I see you. I know what you're doing.
But in the I don't know if there's proper nomenclature. Like if I'm using insensitive language, I apologize. But like in the vagabond or sort of rail riding community, there's these documents called crew changes guide. Change guides.
Okay. Oh, and they were basically like tell you the time schedule in any particular rail station.
Like Southern Pacific has like a unmarked layover here for 10 minutes and a new driver comes out. Because, there are parts of the country where the train just stops and a pickup truck drives another driver out of the next nearest town, which is like 60 miles away.
Yeah.
Like, I almost got a job.
Wow.
Driving train crews, like out of Los Angeles. And I was like, yeah, you're going to be like driving like a few hours, like, you'll get a call and like you'll go pick up a guy like at Union Station and you'll drive him like 4 hours in the desert and he'll catch the train out there or whatever.
Wow.
But it's not quite coded, but it's very like
it's got an esotericism to it.
Yeah, like the way carpenters have specific language for the joints and stuff. There's this coded shorthand about what's all going on, but it sort of maps what's going on in the train yards across the country. And so, like, the Freight Train Riders Association, the other thing that they started as a joke, too, because they were involved initially with a lot of welfare fraud, because they were riding the rails. So it's like you get disability, you travel the Midwest claiming a disability check in not every town, but a lot of towns along the way. You sort of do a check run through Sloss, and it's
Yeah.
It's fucking hard work for not that much money, but
no, well, that's
but
their
that's some
hustle.
people's scam.
That's their hustle.
But
yeah.
so, one of the names that the FTRA has taken on over the years is "fuck the Reagan administration," and I want to, instead of PK Dick's Rome Never Fell, I like the idea of like Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
Like Reaganism as a force actually entered the world significantly before Reagan did, and like there's this like so basically what I want to have that place in Malibu be, instead of some like other sort of CIA dark side governmental whatever conspiracy, I want that to have been like sort of like an interdimensional rail yard. Like that's actually a place to catch out from, but I didn't know it.
Oh, interesting.
And sort of, there's
I love
this travel that goes on there, and that's why everyone was so freaked out and defensive. It's like, what's the stranger doing, compromising like our portal, sort of.
Yeah. I love it.
And so I like this idea of, because when we were referencing psychedelics, you're saying sort of like, like being interested in the concrete.
Yeah.
And sort of like, where's all the hidden stuff that we don't see that makes what we see go round?
Yeah.
And I like that there's sort of this mystical rail riding union of like, basically just like real drifters, like just a collection of like unstable, like outcasts from society, regular people in hard times. Just sort of a collaborative, but within it,
there's also these interdimensional
there's this like team
travelers.
of like sort of mystical anti-fascists. It's
Sure.
like sort of, and it's like,
or you could also have like I'll say both, meaning like the mystical anti-fascists are riding the rails too, but they're also being infiltrated or trying to be overtaken by the Reaganites. I guess is the best, and it's hard to tell the difference between a real hobo and a fucking Reaganite hobo.
Yeah, like sort of. I love the. It was really interesting you're talking about the movie Branded, because I don't know in what context I've wanted to write it, but I've always had in my mind this story of there's this like conscious altering drug, this guy, he sells this conscious altering drug, but he's never taken it, and he can only advance so far in his drug dealing career because the people he's selling to know he's not one of them. Like they know he hasn't taken it. Like he's just facilitating their access to it, but he's not the tribe. Yeah. And so there's always this suspicion, and then he eventually takes it, and it shows him like the truth of like that's sort of been hidden from him, and like what underpins society and what the government's going on and everything. But then he realizes that like he sees everyone that's ever taken it differently. Like it's altered their appearance. And that's how he realizes that's how they know he hadn't taken it.
Yeah.
And then what he realizes though is that even though he's taken it and it's like condemned by society, and now he's kind of like forever marked the outlaw. But like society doesn't know who's taking it, but they have agents who do. So there's people who've seen the truth, and then continue to work for the oppressor. And like they hunt the other, and so you get this like spy versus spy, and like and that seems not exactly the same idea, but that seems similar, like I would really enjoy Brandon.
Yeah, exactly. Also, the very first Philip K. Dick book I read was The Unteleported Man. Have you read that one?
No,
it's a bit schlocky, but I mean, as an introduction, I think it was like mid-career. It hit all of the kind of the talking points that he's really good at without going into too much of the vowelless madness. I think it's pre-1974.
Yeah.
So it's about this guy who runs a shipping company with his son, and they're like long haul space truckers, right? And they make their money from fucking taking shit to Mars. I think that's it. I forget what it's an in-solar system planet, and this technology is developed. The teleportation technology is developed, and he's like, well, I'm not going to use it, but I'm going to be. But they set it up and they're sending people over, and nobody comes back because it's like everything's wonderful in Mars or whatever. But he's like, I want to see what's going on, so he flies to Mars, and as people come out of the teleportation machine, they are abducted by Nazis. So it's basically been this fucking like, it's almost like this plan to get as many people on Mars to turn them into a slave labor camp. And I forget what the resolution of it is, but he basically has to then fly back to Earth. Or no, he teleports back to Earth, but he ends up getting lost in these kind of interdimensional hallways to try to get back to, because it's like a one-way portal. But yeah, it's like as soon as people go through the portal, it becomes this weird psychedelic experience for them where they're going like, I'm on vacation. No, you're in a Nazi labor camp, you know? And it was one of those things where when I read it, I was just like, oh shit, never go through the portal. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
yeah.
I think of never go through the portal, but not in terms of the portal, but like,
we'll never go into your own portal.
When I hear, I forget there's a name. There's a name for it, but like techno-futurists.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh, I think one day like we'll be able to upload our consciousness to the cloud and live forever. I was like, you fool! Really? Like, I was like, I can't think of like your one purpose in life might be to not do that.
Barney. Yeah. No, I think it's going to... Hey, come on. Over here. Barney.
Like...
Let's go, bud. Through here. No, Barney. Come on.
Barney.
I got to go this way. I don't want you going up... Hey, let's go. Come on, bud. Barney.
The pack's going this way. Yeah, because, it's like... You think old Jehovah's a cruel God? Like, what are your God's intel?
Yeah.
I
think, but again, like, I think, whatever. I used to always characterize Spielberg, and I'm not a huge fan. I mean, he's a fine filmmaker, but I always find him to be an AI apologist. Like, to me, it's like he is... The way he presents technology is like, well, just enslave yourself to it. It's fine. There's nothing bad with technology. Like there's a way in which he characterizes it, except for the Minority Report. But of course, that was a dick. Based on a dick work.
I
mean, seems like he was one of the unhappiest people to ever live, but he made great dark fiction.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, there's the whole, I don't know what parts of his career corresponded with what degree of drug use. I know a lot of his fiction was influenced by speed, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough. I really like his work, and I've seen some interesting documentaries on him, and I have the exegesis, but I'm kind of like, you know what? It's interesting to flip through occasionally, but it's like it's kind of not worth the read.
Sure. Well,
I shouldn't say it's not worth the read, but it's like I like the way the insertion of that material functions in Valis.
Oh, for sure.
Like I liked reading those crazy thoughts in Valis, just kind of strung in a notebook together. It's like, ooh, I don't know. It's tougher.
So I have it on audiobook.
Then it's almost like Cones.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. So I have it on audiobook, and I also have a a paperback copy of it around somewhere too. But whatever, I'll put it on maybe when I'm tired or when I just need something that's a little bit like kind of, speculative, like just something that tickles that part of my brain. And I can just dip into it anywhere, and it's kind of all It's all the same reiteration. It is like koans. And he's just describing reality in these different ways over and over again. And he really, like being in the exegesis, you really see his madness. He has a hypomania. He has that when you write too much disease, Yeah. He's got that going on. He's a very intelligent person, but you can tell that he's just using all of these historical and mystical and spiritual references to kind of recapitulate almost the same idea that we're in a kind of a hologram, or that Rome never died. Like, it's like, yes, these are the overall kind of like spiritual oppressions of the time that we are living in, and he's using these kind of newfangled metaphors. I think Confucius used the dream metaphor, right? That we're in a dream, and he's using the hologram, and it's like, great. I love these ideas of the way he's describing it. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, the fiction's good because he kind of pushes you to explore these different ideas, and the exegesis is good just as, like you were saying, like a koan, just like to wash over you and give you these philosophical, metaphorical thoughts. But ultimately, it's just like any who was that Steven Weber? Was that his name? No, Ken Wilber. Do you remember Ken Wilber? He was this kind of quasi-metaphysical, science-y writer. Do you know? Bald guy?
The name sounds so familiar to me, but I don't think I do, because I can't associate him to any work or concept.
Yeah, well, again, this is the problem with him, is he would generate all these fucking gigantic books that were basically the nature of reality, and these like quantum and blah, 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 right? He fell from grace because he had some kind of huge sex scandal, but he was just one of these guys who could just pump out fucking words and words and words and words, and it was great. It kept a lot of fucking dummies preoccupied. Unlike something like the Illuminatus trilogy, right, where I think that works as a prophylaxis against conspiracy theory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I think you could read the Illuminatus trilogy and afterwards be like, oh, it's all bullshit. You know what I mean? Or it doesn't matter, or I can put my belief where I want to. Because I think that's the biggest lesson.
Because there's... it's like... Have you seen, are you familiar with the sketch group Mitchell and Webb?
Oh, fucking love them.
Have you seen the Inebriati sketch?
No, remind me of it. I'm sure I've seen it.
They have a sketch, this lawyer is about to have his first day in court, and he's like, I'm a barrister, but it's my first day, and I just don't know if I'll be any good at barristing. And this guy pops out behind a column, and he's like, come over here. And he's like, drink this. And like he gives him, I forget but he gives him like 2.5 drinks, and then shoves them in the courtroom. And then you see him walk out of court, and he's like, yes! And he's like, I got that guy off on that vicious sex murder, even though he clearly did it. and then the guy who gave him the alcohol is around the corner. He's like, come with me, sir. And he's like, we're the Inebriati. We're a secret society dedicated to the principle that everything humanity does is done better if they're ever so slightly drunk. And it's basically the society that their vow is to stay perpetually inebriated, but only at the point between 2.5 and 2 3/4 of a drink.
Yeah.
So it's like...
I used to call it the 2-4 beer split. At 2 beers, you fucking are in the flow. At 4 beers, you fall off the fucking, off the bar stool. Also, when you're a real alcoholic, it's a 3-6 beer split, but
Yeah, I mean, there's this country song called Swing Shift that leads up to this woman killing her husband and his lover. But the song starts and she goes, pouring whiskey in my coffee the only thing that keeps me straight. And then later in the song, she comes back to, she goes, pouring coffee in my whiskey. I've seen trouble in the dregs. And it's like, yeah, like, it goes south fast.
Yep.
You know, it is, one day you're just sneaking a little liquor in your coffee. And the next thing you know, it's like liquor with coffee.
It's so interesting because for me, my alcoholism went from just basically like my first fucking getting shitty at a friend's house to just being like, this is my identity. But I was a pretty epic fucking drunk. Like I was, I don't know, I could outdrink almost anybody, and I was able to fucking keep my shit together. I mean, this is the problem with having fucking Viking blood like I did, is that I was a fan-fucking-tastic drunk. But, I mean, yes, I was a jerk face for sure, and it definitely masked all of this fucking disassociation and sociopathy and depression that I had. But I think the reason I had the kidney problem, that I did, is because you can hurt your body so much more when you're an epic drunk like I was, before you have to actually quit drinking. I only quit drinking because I had, it wasn't even a drinking situation. I just got sober, because I was a crackhead, and I wasn't drinking that much because I didn't want it to interfere with my crack high. But I'd gotten okay, I'm gonna stop smoking crack, and of course I started drinking to compensate or whatever and then to have something. And then I got rolled by the Shoreline Crips, and I was like just white knuckling it for a week. Then I took the ayahuasca, and that fucking solved it all. Fucking cured my alcoholism, cured my crack addiction, all in one fucking 8-hour psychedelic journey. It was perfect.
You know, it's so interesting that how people have so you know, it's all self-reported, so you don't hear of the unsuccessful cases necessarily.
Yeah.
But so many I have talked to so many people who've had real help from psychedelics and getting over addiction.
Oh yeah.
And that's like blasphemy in the recovery world.
Well, they don't want you to be like, take a drug to get off a drug. You know what I mean?
But it's just so funny because the recovery world is still very much that it's a spiritual disease, and they're still 12-stepping. And Bill W. had his big breakthrough on the belladonna treatment.
Yeah.
And then later on, he thought LSD was going to be like the answer.
Yeah.
And like, they don't tolerate any of that kind of talk. But then like, they'll give you like books of quotes from this asshole to read, like his shitty opinion. They'll make you read his My 2 Cents column about life. Like, I suppose, you know, blah, 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 blah. But they won't fucking listen to him when he said, yes, you need a transformative religious experience. Yeah. And psychedelics provided that for me and saved my life. And I think we should investigate this. And they're like, la, 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 la.
Well, and the fact that AA is in cahoots with the government as a way of fucking ameliorating your fucking DUI charges is like, fuck you. Don't make me go to fucking church. I'm just glad when I negotiated my DUI situation, AA wasn't, or maybe it was, but I was just so like, whatever, just sign my card, get me the fuck out of here, because it could be scammed. And again, like fucking, I think AA does good work for people. It is a hammer to hammer out certain alcoholic sobrieties for people. But I think ultimately it is a very weak organization, because I will tell you, this number, 5%, that's the number of people that go into AA and stay sober the rest of their lives. You see this number right here? 5%, that's the number of people that go sober on their own and stay sober the rest of their lives. Yeah, so it's like, it's a place to go, it's a place to hang out. I always just suggest it to my desperate drunk friends because they need something in their lives to fill up the time.
Yeah, I mean that's... It sort of has two things going for it. It is like, you know, I think what we're seeing with the pandemic is school has two functions. One stated and one unstated. And I think its unstated function is actually the most important. And it's like...
Keeping young people off the street?
No, well, yeah, sort of. It's adults have shit to do and have any reasonable hope of getting it done. The kids have to go somewhere else. Like, the kids have to go be somewhere else for 6-8 hours.
Yeah. If we want to make this world work.
Like, these adults need to function without these kids for a number of hours. And I think, like, with the Zoom school, like, we're seeing that. It's like, holy fuck, this is a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, you know, if they, again, like if you have chosen the prison of parenthood, I feel for you, you know, but this is the fact of it.
But like, I don't know why I started talking about school. I was going to connect it to AA, but I lost it.
But I think, again, it's a place for people to go when they're not drinking.
Yeah, I mean...
At the very basic level.
It's the same way that, like, society, kind of, we send kids to school because we don't know what else the fuck to do with them.
Oh, yeah.
You know... Yeah, I wish there were a better spot to send kids in school. I have a lot of problems with what schools do to kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's fucking outrageous to be fair, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I think my nephew'd be in worse shape if he weren't at school.
Sure. Possibly. Again, like, I feel like, though, that it's kind of like the structure of school is most of the problem. Because if school was a fucking, like, get on this pirate boat, we're going for...
Yeah.
We're setting sail for high seas, and you're gone for 3 months, and, like, whatever you learn on your fucking 3 months is like, oh, shit, I have seen life. Like, I feel like people were, you know, when there was piracy going on, where you at, bud? I know he's down at the river. He loves that river.
So like, yeah, so the one thing is like, you know, and there's kind of a point in people, in some addicts' journey too, where it's like, okay, well, you need to be somewhere and you can't be unsupervised. Yeah. So it's like, you can hang out in AA all day, I guess. Yeah. Maybe we can try to get you into the hospital, or like we can let you end up in jail. Yeah. You know, so there is that aspect of it that, like, we don't know what to do with the active
But
addict.
I think, I think if we got these psychedelics back into our fucking culture, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you could fucking change your mind overnight. And I think that's one of the reasons, like, because they're in cahoots with the government. I actually think that also AA, because they're so strict, I think they might be, like, funded by the government or something. Well, just like keep this thing going so fucking people fucking have a thing that where they're not doing drugs.
Well,
you know, or something.
And I almost wonder, you know, and people could say, oh, it's out of a sense of obligation, not out of inner sinister means. But I bet AA gets funding from, like, Coors or the liquor industry.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Like the same way... all these plastic polluters, like, promoted recycling campaigns. And it's like, don't look at us and there's all the plastic in the ocean. Yep. Like, we told you to recycle. Like, hands clean. Yep. It's like, no, fuck no. You know, they're like, oh, well, you know, drink responsibly, and if you have a problem, go to AA.
Yeah,
fuck, that's all.
That's all we're gonna. That's it. That's all we're responsible for. That actually makes more sense. Because again, like, I was also looking. I have my whole porn conspiracy that suddenly porn has become free. And, you know, it's some fucking guy in Belgium stole all the porn and he put it up for free, basically. Pornhub guy. He owns all the domains. Yeah. He's a real monster. He's a bad guy. But it made me go like, oh, well, during this time, because, you know, there's it's one of the Freakonomics things, is like, high-speed internet makes violence against women go through the fucking basement. It's just like, as soon as people have the opportunity to fucking look at porn, hot and cold running porn on their systems, they don't fucking want to beat up women anymore or rape them.
Is that for real?
Yeah, it's a Freakonomics correlation they found.
Good, but also, like, I've never felt like, thank God I beat off. I was thinking of hurting somebody. Like,
no, as soon as I'm done beating off, I'm like, I'm going to eat something.
That's so, I don't know, that's very... I kind of see it, but that sort of blows my mind. But like, cool.
But this is why it's one of their Freakonomic correlations. I mean, again, also there's the idea that the people that are against porn want to convince you that porn is bad because of X, Y, and Z. Porn is bad because it's industrial. And these are people working in an industrial environment that are having their fucking... It's not the consumers of the product that are causing the problems. It's the fucking producers of the product, meaning the girls that are fucking treated like shit and fucking... Yeah, it's the market that's causing them to have the problems, not the fucking consumers. It's the way in which it's produced. Then that's where the violence in the fucking system is. It's not in the fucking... Yeah, but if you fucking subscribe to a fucking OnlyFans or whatever, it's like those girls are doing it themselves.
Well, how is there not... I mean, I could sort of see their reluctance to do it, and maybe they should have their own, but, like, they're on-camera talent, like... Why can't they be a part of the Screen Actors Guild or some sort of protective labor organization?
They've definitely tried. But but again, at the core of it, it's like the operators are fucking shady-ass motherfuckers. And at the very top of it, it's fucking Sony, because they're the ones that own all the fucking cameras and servers. And so, you know what I mean? It's like...
Well, and I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but, like, people talk about, like, sort of... market pressure and sort of all the lessons of VHS beating out Betamax, even though Betamax was higher quality. And they talk about some of the licensing deals Betamax made and things like that. But I heard that the sort of the unspoken reason is there was no Betamax porno.
Yeah,
a lot of people were buying VCRs to watch some porno on. Yeah. And that, like, not catering to the porno market tanked Betamax.
I mean,
and I think Betamax was a Sony product, so I could sort of see, like, Sony being the lesson was like, boy, we fucked ourselves. I don't know that Sony owns Betamax, by the way, but
they definitely produced Betamax machines.
But the idea that,
the
like,
best Beta camera, because Beta's out there still as a broadcast recording medium.
And I think sort of the value system, basically what we found out was, like, people kind of feel like corporations have a conservative value system, and it's like, no, that's the value system they impose on their employees, but their own value system is fucking none.
Oh yeah,
there isn't one. Like, they'll sell you goddamn anything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I want to come back to psychedelics. Do you know who Conor Habib is?
Who?
Conor Habib. He's like a gay porn star, but now he's become like a philosopher. He's a big Steinerite, but he's a smart guy. Rudolf Steiner.
It's fucking me up because, like,
he was a late 19th.
I feel like I went to high school with a Conor Habib.
Probably.
But,
little kind of gay guy. Yes, I don't know. It's a pretty common name, though.
But,
but he talks about sex being a psychedelic experience, And I'm like, oh yeah, it is. It changes your neurological state.
Yeah,
for sure.
And, so, like, when I I don't know if this is I don't know if this is the kind of thing that happens to some people and they don't like it and it gets labeled HPPD or whatever that hallucinogenic persisting perception disorder is.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
But it's like continuing to have unwanted experiences after taking psychedelics.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
They used to call them flashbacks.
Yeah. But, like, after my real high dose psychedelic experience, like, I can feel myself emotionally shift. Like, sometimes my environment gets red tinged or blue tinged.
Oh,
like,
nice.
when I go into my emotions.
Nice.
And, like, I can feel things, like there's this rotating cross I can see, and like moments of deep relaxation, and feeling at peace. Like I can see it faintly visible, but with my eyes open.
Yeah.
But when I close my eyes, I can kind of summon it at will. And so, like, I'm wondering, like, is this what people are experiencing when they say they have this disorder? And it's just that it doesn't bother me because I kind of like the experience and I feel like I've opened up something that I've seen and now it's there with me and it doesn't bother me.
Possibly,
or
yeah.
Or people having like crazy stuff that I don't even understand and it's not the same at all.
So I think though, it's obviously the variety of experience is going to be different for everybody. But it sounds to me like you re-tapped into your synesthesia a little bit. And I think, not that babies are natural synesthetes, but I think that we're enculturated away from the synesthesia. I remember when I was a kid, whatever, numbers had personalities. And I could do a lot of math in my head when I thought of them that way. So it sounds like your red tinge and your blue tinge is kind of like a little bit of a synesthesia, right? And so I think these HPPD.
Yeah.
I'd have to read up on it, but it makes me think that, so when I've had, and I don't even call them flashbacks, but when I've kind of like reattached to a psychedelic feeling without the drugs, it really is a little bit of, I'll call it a crisis moment for me, because it's like, oh, am I going to continue to get higher from this moment?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, but because I've done so many psychedelics, I'm in a space where it's like, well, if I fucking hit a fucking pocket of brain fat that makes me high for a little while, I'm just gonna ride it. You know what I mean? But there are those uncomfortable moments where, and again, like when I think about like kind of the structure of reality and how I'm able to perceive it in much different ways, I could see people having a little bit of crisis about that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. So yours is you said a rotating cross?
Yeah.
Mine is
neon and sort of a neon green and indigo.
Fuck yeah. Mine is a fractal nautilus.
Oh,
shape.
Nice.
Yeah. There's one I have on my laptop that kind of represents it, but it's moving, and I'm inside of it, and know.
And then,
but I also think these are almost like these symbolic representations of some kind of like essence of ourselves. And I know I'm a convoluted, crazy person. You know what I mean? And you are definitely, you give a shit about this certain kind of Christianity.
Yeah, I'm in a process of becoming increasingly more uncomfortable, like with the label of Christian.
Yeah.
Just looking at like so many people that wear that label are behaving. It's like, for a while I thought it was important to be like, well, there's no one way to be a Christian. And, when people talk about it, they are also, they're lumping everything together, including, these beliefs that I'm into and all this other crazy stuff. And it's like, and now I'm sort of like, yeah.
But to me, like, the thing I'm going to get back to, even though this Christianity has been this weird kind of obsession for me, I think the thing that my brain has been trying to draw me to is this Eucharistic tradition. That I think that there is some kind of magical, mystical, ritual, plant medicine thing at the heart of what it means to be a human being and how we've been able to grow and change in this world that we are very much missing. It was because, again, like at a certain point, you knew everybody. Like in human history, there was a time where every human being knew every other human being.
Yeah.
And if at that point you go to fucking Stonehenge and fucking, drink the fucking the psychedelic Eucharist, whatever it was, and you're all having this unified experience and maybe experiencing God at the same time. It's like, that is a powerful thing for a culture to have. And we don't have anything like that. Anything even close to that. The Super Bowl tries to be, but I would,
And then the other thing too is like, I think what people who have psychedelic experiences have no trouble accepting, and people that haven't like refuse to believe. But just because something is a psychedelic hallucination doesn't mean it can't be shared.
Yeah.
So you could have a group of people tripping together, and they could all see. They'll have their own takes on it. They'll all experience it a little bit individually, but they might all see God, and then everyone goes forth from that point with a tale of what happened the day they saw God.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know, like.
I also think the other thing is, like, when I think of, like, how some of the stories about the Eleusinian mysteries is, like, they talk about, like, puppet shows and this and that, but I also think that there was probably these theatrical presentations going on, too, to have that unifying aspect. You know, that there was, like, some songs and maybe some kind of dance, and maybe there was a puppet show or whatever, you know, to present whatever the ideals of the culture, to reflect it back to the people that were having these psychedelic experiences. And then, yes, you could probably see Minerva or whoever in these, you know, you'd have the hints of these things. Or maybe you just even had an actress come out and play the part, and you're like, oh, shit. I saw the goddess. You know?
Yeah, like there you can I forget what it's called, but there's like a divine play type of religious ritual where, like, one of the priests takes on the ritual role of a god or goddess, and then, you know, it starts out as acting. And then, like, if the ritual is done properly and it all comes off right, they get taken over by the archetype they're embodying, and they actually speak as if, you know.
Yeah. I'll get you some water, bud. Oh, come here. Want some? Want some water? Yeah, come and get it. It's right there. Over on this side. Okay, dummy. He doesn't know how to drink water. Here. Oh, yeah, so come over here, right there. It's on this side. This over here, over here. There it is. There, you got it. Doesn't know how to drink water. Shall we cut?
Yeah.
These are always wonderful.
They really are. I enjoyed this quite a bit.
As soon as I was coming back into town, I was like, got to make sure I hit up Ryan.
Yeah, I'm sorry the trip wasn't smooth, but, you know, nice adventure.
Exactly. I guess I got to go pee. Woo.
But yeah, I'm glad to have you back in town.
Yeah.
These were fun,